In the year 1756, deep within the plantation-dominated landscape of colonial Virginia, the Williams estate stood as a symbol of wealth and authority. Its owner, Edward Williams, commanded respect from neighboring planters, not for kindness, but for his iron-fisted control over land and the enslaved people who toiled upon it. Yet behind the estate's polished facade of power lurked a story so unsettling that even whispers of it sent tremors through the colony. It begins with Sarah Williams, an enslaved woman who bore the master's surname, not by choice, but by the cruel imposition of bondage. Forced into servitude in the kitchens of the household, Sarah appeared to outsiders as quiet and compliant, but history would record her as something else entirely. The woman who orchestrated the demise of an entire family in one single dinner. Life in the Williams household was marked by routine and hierarchy. At the top sat Edward, his wife Margaret, and their 3 children. Below them were the enslaved men and women who worked fields and halls, carrying out orders with no hope of freedom. Sarah, however, occupied a role that gave her unusual proximity to power. As the head servant in the kitchen, she handled the family's meals, oversaw ingredients, and was trusted with the preparation of every dish served at the long mahogany table. For months, Sarah endured cruelty, beatings from Edward, harsh words from Margaret, and the constant weight of exploitation. But the cruelest wound was inflicted when Edward's youngest son, in a fit of arrogance, struck her before guests, humiliating her in public. That moment, according to later testimony, planted the seed of vengeance that would transform Sarah from victim into executioner. The act itself unfolded on a humid summer evening in July 1756. Edward had invited neighbors and overseers to join a grand dinner, meant to celebrate the estate's abundant tobacco harvest. The household bustled with preparation, wine decanted, silver polished, candles lit. Sarah, quiet but deliberate, worked over stews and roasts, her hands steady as she measured and stirred. What no one could see was the dark powder she slipped into sauces and bread, substances she had carefully gathered from plants and minerals with knowledge passed down secretly among the enslaved. While many enslaved people turned to whispered prayer for solace, Sarah turned to poison, crafting a mixture strong enough to silence an entire household. When the guests assembled, laughter and conversation filled the grand dining hall. The Williams family presided with pride, unaware that their trusted cook had laid a death sentence before them. They ate heartily, complimenting the flavor of the dishes, praising Sarah's skill while sealing their fate with each mouthful. Accounts tell us that within an hour, discomfort set in. Margaret was the first to falter, clutching her stomach. Soon Edward and the children followed, their faces turning pale as sweat beaded across their foreheads. What began as uneasy murmurs turned into chaos, as groans of agony filled the candlelit room. Guests rushed to their aid, but none could comprehend the sudden, synchronized sickness that had overtaken the family. By midnight, the household was unrecognizable. The proud Williams family, once the image of colonial authority, lay writhing in pain. Margaret collapsed by the hearth. Edward struggled to breathe, and the children convulsed, their cries echoing through the halls. The guests who had attended the dinner fled, some fearing contagion, others simply unwilling to witness the gruesome downfall of their hosts. In the shadows, Sarah remained silent, neither assisting nor interfering, as the family that had tormented her dissolved before her eyes. When dawn broke, the Williams estate was eerily quiet. Servants discovered the bodies of Edward, Margaret, and their children, lifeless, still seated near the table where they had eaten their last supper. The shock that followed was immediate and widespread. Colonial Virginia thrived on order, and the sudden eradication of a planter family unsettled the delicate hierarchy that kept power intact. Authorities arrived swiftly, interrogating every enslaved person on the estate. Whispers of Sarah's involvement spread quickly. She had been too calm, too composed amid the disaster. Neighbors, suspicious of her proximity to the kitchen and the family's final meal, accused her of orchestrating the deaths. Within days, Sarah was seized and dragged to a colonial court, her fate sealed before she could speak in her own defense. To the plantation elite, it was unthinkable that such an act could be anything but calculated rebellion. Records from the trial reveal little sympathy for Sarah. The proceedings were less about truth and more about maintaining control. Witnesses spoke of her bitterness, her silence, her unnatural composure. The court ignored the brutal conditions of her life, her endless suffering, and the violence she endured at the hands of her masters. Instead, they painted her as a cold-blooded murderer, a servant who dared to defy the natural order. With little deliberation, the court condemned her to death. Sarah was hanged at dawn, her body displayed as a warning to others enslaved, a grim reminder of what awaited those who resisted. Yet, in silencing her, the colony could not erase the legacy of her act. The story of Sarah Williams has since lingered as both horror and legend. For the white colonists, it was retold as a cautionary tale about the dangers of trust and the fragility of their own power. For the enslaved, however, it became something else, a whispered story of resistance, of a woman who struck back against impossible odds. Though history recorded her as a criminal, others saw her as a tragic figure, one who chose agency in the only way she could. Today, the tale of Sarah Williams forces us to confront the brutality of slavery and the desperate measures born of oppression. It remains a chilling reminder that even in the darkest of times, defiance can take forms both terrifying and unforgettable. In the end, Sarah Williams was led to the gallows, her calm gaze fixed on the horizon as if she saw something far beyond the reach of her captors. Her execution silenced her body, but not her story. The tale of Sarah Williams did not end with her death. Her name slipped into whispers, remembered not for her chains, but for the single night when silence gave way to defiance. In the shadow of history, her story remains a chilling reminder of what desperation can awaken in the human soul. If this dark tale moved you, share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more sinister stories buried in the past.